We're away, we're live, we're off the mark, brand new course. Awesome, buddy. Thank you very much. And I guess first of all, welcome to the course then. Welcome to our level one. It's Vocational Studies, and we're looking at just understanding and overcoming some health and fitness barriers that kind of get in the way quite a lot. I mean, there's a lot in the world at the minute that's adding extra barriers on top of barriers, you know. So I don't think there's really been a better time to look at that sort of thing, you know, and how can we break things down. And of course, like you say, we've a lot of us have got a lot more sort of time at the minute to maybe be thinking about these a little bit more, you know, thinking about, right, okay, if I'm going to be starting to move into fitness or trying to just get a little bit fitter, be a little bit healthier, live a healthier lifestyle, now's the time to be thinking about what that's going to look like for you sort of post-COVID, whenever that might be. You know, I know we've sort of unveiled a bit of a roadmap yesterday. Yeah. Obviously, we'll just take things week by week, see where we're at. But, you know, it's a good chance to think to yourself, okay, so I used to enjoy swimming, you know, a few years ago, or even 10 years ago, you know, I used to enjoy a bit of a swim. Can I look into how feasible that is, you know, sort of as things come back? Can you have a look on Facebook? Can you look through different groups? Can you get yourself on emailing lists, you know, so they can let you know when they're going to reopen again? If it's a case of, you know, you can get yourself signed up for group classes, stuff like that. So they can let you know when with going back to a little bit of normality, when you're going to have those options to go out and do that for, like I say, a little bit of a healthier lifestyle again. You know, there's never probably been more onus and more responsibility on ourselves as well to take care of our own health, our own well-being, our own nutrition. Because obviously a lot of us are sort of self-isolating, we're in lockdown, and we're having to just govern that ourselves and having to manage that by ourselves. So yeah, welcome to the course. It might well be the first online learning you've ever done. It might not be. It might be a little bit different from learning that you've done in the past. You know, we're just going to take a couple of minutes to just look at everything that we're going to cover going forward, and then just make sure that we're all sort of in the same boat. We know what we're in for, so we can really get the most out of the next 12 weeks.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
I'm just sitting here silently in the background trying to work out if the audio is working. So just bear with us for a minute or two while I work that out.
Cool, yeah, I was just about to say, yeah, there's Haytham's jumping on with us to give me a hand because I'm absolutely useless when it comes to all the tech side of stuff.
So my audio was a little bit quiet, so I'm just going to try and boost that a little bit.
No, cool.
You just crack on and I'm still here. Haven't fallen off the planet. I'm just working on some tech stuff.
Just busying away in the background, buddy. Awesome, cool. Right, guys, so just like I say, just taking a few minutes so we all got a bit of an idea what we're in for, and like I say, we're all in the same boat. Because obviously we're doing this online, it's all online. There's going to be a lot of sort of stuff that I need to make sure that you've got. You need to make sure sort of comes back to me as well. So, of course, that'll all be done through emails. Like I've sent you the link out for today's session. Of course, you might be watching this back later on in the week. Again, you know, if you've missed out on the opportunity to sort of jump in the live chat and ask any questions, that is always an option you can do through email as well. You know, you can just drop me a message, you know, say, oh, Rob, I've sort of caught this part of this session, but it didn't really make sense, so I could just do with it reinforcing a little bit more. So yeah, by all means, let me know. It's not a case of, you know, if you can't get onto the live sessions, you sort of flying solo through all of this. We're all sort of, like I say, we're in it together, and I'm here to guide you along the way. So yeah, it's going to be a case of each week we get to a new workbook that needs filling in. I'm going to sort of send them out one at a time. If you get to the point where you think you're missing anything, let me know. I'll send all of that in one go, you know. The reason we'll do that is just so you haven't got 6 workbooks, and you're looking through which one do I need this week. If I sort of send it through as you need that workbook, it's just a lot easier to keep on top of what you actually sort of need.
There'll be a link to that in the description as well, remember. So on the video itself, whether you're watching it live or watching it back, click down there. I'll tell you exactly what it looks like, actually. In fact, I can probably even show you if you give me a second.
Awesome, buddy. Cool.
Again, I think my audio should be working now. I'm seeing green bars instead of I was seeing a little tiny bar when I was speaking, and I was like, that cannot be right.
Oh, man, no, that's no good for your confidence.
No, it made us look like a fool. Or sound like a fool, anyway. So you should be seeing the stream. It might get a little bit laggy because I'm playing the stream to the stream, which is always a bad idea.
Streamception.
Yeah, So there, if you scroll down a little bit here, this information panel here should have all the stuff on it. And someone is kindly bringing me a cup of tea as well. Thank you very much.
Oh, what a star!
My favourite cup as well. It's got
what a star!
On it. Look.
She not done me one?
Nah.
Oh man.
So yeah, here's the have a survey, contact, and a workbook and the workout video for that week. As well as this inflammation, not inflammation.
Not inflammation. We're going to get to that in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah, we'll cross that
next week.
We'll get to it. Inflammation next week. Information this week.
I do have some ibuprofen if you do have any inflammation.
We got both covered then.
I'm packing.
Nice, man. Nice. We got both.
Supplementary learner information from our funders link there as well, which I don't know if you've covered yet.
No, so that guys will be stuff like the learner handbook and just any other, like I say, sort of supplementary information that you might need in there. You know, if it's where to go, if you've got any sort of queries, if you've got any concerns, you know, of course, I'll just give you that in there. So yeah, everything you need is in the description. Each week we're going to be hooking you up with a different workout video as well, so you can so you've got a little bit more structure. I think when it comes to your exercise and your fitness, I think we're all very sort of limited in what we can do right now. You know, I know Heath and me, you've talked in the past about sort of being. It's either you're in the house doing sort of body weight stuff, a lot of us, or you're out and about. You're either walking and running, or over winter, you know, that's got its own challenges as well. You know, if we're trying to be a little bit healthier, a little bit more active, the last thing we want to do is go out for a run or convince ourselves that's the best way to do it. Go over on the ice. Black ice is lethal, you know, you don't even know it's there. The next thing you know, you're looking at the sky, you're on your back. And you have to miss 3, 6, however many months it is from almost any kind of fitness as well. Yeah. You know, so of course we want to do it safe, which is something that we're going to look at over the course of the next 12 weeks as well.
I think what you need to bear in mind as well is you can't do too much too soon.
Well, that's the thing as well.
What I've done to myself at the minute. I've trained 5 days a week for about 4 to 5 weeks, and now my body is just absolutely ruined in every way possible.
Yeah, it's absolutely wrecked.
Just dead, like everything hurts. I'm run down. I'm just suffering a little bit at the minute.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I feel for you, man. I feel for you.
Don't overdo it.
Well, yeah. You know, you'll either sort of break your body down and you'll do too much too soon. Your body will struggle to cope, or you'll just sicken yourself off mentally as well. You know,
burn out completely.
You know, the first couple of weeks in any sort of new program are really sort of key in letting habits set, you know, and really sort of let them settle in. And during those first couple of weeks, you might not be seeing the immediate weight loss and the immediate sort of burst of energy and waking up feeling better and stuff like that. And if you're training 5-6 days a week and you've maybe not got time for that, you're making sacrifices for that, you're waking up every day sore, you have 2 weeks of that and you haven't seen like half a stone drop off. It's so easy to get demotivated and take a little bit of a step back and think, do you know what, there's no way I can even maintain 5-6 training days a week. It's easier to maybe start on 1 or 2.
It's when the bags under your eyes start coming because you're burning the candle at both ends.
That's it.
Not getting to bed at like 1 o'clock and then you're up again at like 7:30.
It's easy to forget that the name and the whole aim of this this sort of thing, trying to be fit, trying to be active, is to be healthier and to be happier. Yeah. You know, and to be in a better place physically. And if you're sort of doing the opposite and putting your body under that much strain, it's going to have the opposite effect. You know. It's also worth thinking about from the nutritional side of things, which is something that we're going to get onto during the course as well. From the nutritional side of things, it's a lot harder at the minute, I think, to burn off some of the bad foods. We haven't got access to a lot of the exercises that we could normally do. You know, I'm going to have a little bit of a treat tonight and I can get up and go to the gym tomorrow morning. Right now, it's not an option. You know, so we maybe do need to be a little bit more on the ball with what we're eating. It all comes from being in the know, of course. You know, it's the information and what do we do with it. And that, I think that when it comes to food, that really comes from realizing what each sort of element of food does. You know, your proteins, your carbs, your fats, what we need it for. and like I say, that the timings and when they're going to be most beneficial. But of course, that's all to play for, mate. That's all to look forward to. We've got a lot to go into, actually, buddy. If you don't mind just rolling on to the next slide, we've got a little bit of a recap. Again, you know, if you're watching this back during the week and you do want to come back and like I say, just sort of revisit and just get an idea, sort of away from when. You know, when just maybe when you can pause it, you can take a little bit of time. You can think, right, okay, I'm sort of looking forward to this. I feel okay, sort of dealing with that when that comes up, when that topic comes up. You know, I don't feel like I understand that topic so well. So yeah, just a little bit of it. Each session is going to be, it'll be about 2 hours. And then there is going to be aspects of the course as well that we need to do on a one-to-one basis. You know, be that sort of, if you guys need any additional help. Later on, towards the back end of the course, we'll be doing our own sort of presentations, posters. And again, rather than sort of trying to find a way to deliver them to everybody, we'll just organise a one-to-one and we'll get that done between us, and then I can give you a little bit of feedback and a little bit of privacy as well, you know, if you are a little bit nervous about doing that presentation, because I mean, mate, hands up if you love public speaking, because it's not me, you know.
No.
It's not something that comes natural to a lot of people, and it's a skill at the end of the day. It is a skill that does only get better with time. But yeah, a little bit of peace of mind knowing that that'll just be between me and yourself, and it'll be something that you're passionate about as well, you know. So you'll actually have a chance to probably teach me something about whatever it is that you're going to go away and do, you know. We've had learners in the past do presentations on, you know, sort of health conditions that they live with, or they've got family or friends that they that they know suffer with certain conditions, and it really is interesting to see, certainly from the perspective of someone who's a little bit closer to the situation. So really looking forward to getting to that point as well, you know. Today's session we're going to be looking pretty much entirely at the skeleton, you know, the skeleton, what it does, why it's so important, with a little bit of a look at some of our organs towards the end and the roles that they play in the body as well. Weeks down the line, we're going to be looking at things like the heart, how the heart works, and the role that plays in fitness and in our health, you know. Healthy eating, nutrition, looking at food labels, because that can be a minefield in itself sometimes, you know. You go to the shops, especially at the minute, you want to be in and out, you know. You're trying to keep your time in the shops down. You don't want to be the one loitering, or I think we all feel a little bit conscious in the shops at the minute if we're taking longer than we'd like to, you know. You don't want to be...
You can do a click and collect.
if
you're able to just do that. It takes a lot of stress out of the situation.
It really does, you know, and if that is something that you're particularly concerned about, or even sort of anxious about, stuff like that, you know, like Hatham says, see if you can get yourself a click and collect,
or delivered,
like that.
You know,
click and collect, delivery, anything like that. But of course, we're all trying to limit trips to the shop, how long we're spending in the shop if we do have to go. So of course, going with a little bit of a plan sets you up really well as well before you even get there. You know, you can in, out, with everything that you need. And of course, if you're going in to buy a particular product and it's not there, you know, you've got to look at a different brand, you've got to look at a different product altogether, you've got to maybe stand and read the food label. The quicker you can do that and make an informed decision over that item, the better, you know, the faster you're going to be out of there. So that's that'll be a really important session in a couple of weeks' time. And then we're going to move into sort of looking at the physical activity side of things a little bit more, you know, looking at different components of fitness. How do we test those different components of fitness? Certainly within sort of professional fields and stuff like that. Different heart rate zones and how working at different levels is going to sort of trigger a different response and a different adaptation from your body. You know, you're either working really intense and you're getting better at working at that high threshold for a short amount of time, or, you know, you're working at a little bit more of a moderate level and you can maintain it for longer and it's going to improve your longevity, like that sort of thing, you know. But barriers to exercise is a massive one, you know, especially at the minute, like I say, and going forward, there's always going to be barriers. Having worked in the gym as a personal trainer for 5-6 years pre-COVID, you know, there's always stuff that gets in the way. It could be childcare, it could be finances, you know, it could be time, and it's a case of looking at those barriers and realize, okay, so not everybody's dealing with all of these barriers, but almost everybody's dealing with at least one of them. How do we get past those in a case of, right, we can still have that and deal with that in a healthy way, but still have time for exercise as well? Because like Ethan was mentioning earlier on, if you're sacrificing stuff that does need doing, it can be even stuff with the kids, the kids' homework getting done, housework, spending time with your partner. If you're sacrificing all of that in a way just to get a little bit of exercise in, your heart and your lungs are going to be healthier, but there's going to be knock-on effects from the other side as well. So it's doing it in a sustainable way that actually lets you be healthier and happier rather than just
human being.
just without adding a load more just stress to the pile, because I think everybody's got plenty of that at the minute, and at the end of the day, exercise is meant to be a bit of a release from that. So if it's in your mind in a way where it's either a chore or it's something that sort of needs shoehorning into a day in the 15 minutes that you've got, it can end up leading to more stress than it's worth. So again, if you feel like you're really struggling with that in time as we're going forward and looking at these different barriers, let me know and we'll try and get something in place if you've got something that's a little bit more unique to yourself. But you might actually be surprised how often some of the things that you might think, I don't know how I'm ever gonna exercise and have time for this at the same time. It's surprising how many people are dealing with that as well, and some of the creative ways that we found a way around them. Because at the end of the day, we need our exercise, and I think that the last year in particular has demonstrated that as much as anything. We're all probably a little bit more sedentary than we were this time last year, sitting still a little bit more, maybe working from home, maybe he's only getting out of the house once a day for a bit of exercise. So like I say, no time like the present to be looking at this sort of stuff, and then we're going to be sort of looking at other sort of skills that are going to transfer over in sort of day-to-day life, them presentation skills being one of them, a little bit of public speaking. We're going to be looking at timekeeping, that sort of thing. And then how do we apply it all to do health and fitness in a safe way? Looking at health and safety protocols and procedures, either around classes, in gyms, that sort of thing. Because it's like I say, it's all to think about, because if we're going to do it, we do have to make sure that we're doing it safely. Definitely. Okay, so we've sort of mentioned anything that you're going to need for the sessions that are up and coming will be in the description, be that either the survey, just to leave us a little bit of feedback. That's a really good chance to sort of let us know how you're feeling about that session in particular, what you thought sort of really went well, what you maybe's not understanding quite so well. So that's a really good chance. It takes about 30 seconds. And of course your feedback's really important to us as well. So it'll all be in the description. The supplementary learner info will be in there. If you've got concerns about your own sort of health and safety, even if it's just about being online in a sort of safe fashion, because that's something to think about as well.
Your e-safety.
Yes, we are very lucky, to be honest, that we're in a position where we can do this online and deliver online, and technology's been amazing, especially over the last year, in letting us do what we do and what we love doing at the end of the day. Of course, 100 years ago, Spanish flu pandemic, this wasn't even on the cards. But it is worth thinking about, and it is worth mentioning, and sort of always having in our mind. We want to make sure that when we're online, we're being safe. We're following trusted links from trusted sources, just as you've done this morning to sort of access this stream or this video if you're watching back. Just make sure that you're sort of being aware and maybe a little bit analytical and conscious of all the information that is out there. We're all susceptible to a lot of information that's out there. Some of it's really beneficial, some of it's out there deliberately to be harmful. So that's something just to be aware of. Please come forward again. It is mentioned in that supplementary learner info.
And we do have more training on that as well, on how to spot things like scams and keeping yourself safe online and that sort of thing.
Yeah, because of course online, I think some of it will sort of ease off as we come away from restrictions and lockdown, but of course a lot of it's probably here to stay, and even as a society, a lot of it is just going to develop that way going forward as well. So we've got to do it safely. I
have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of stuff's going to remain online, at least initially anyway, because like when stuff opens back up to be face to face, it's going to be limited places.
Yeah.
So
of course it will.
having that online link will be good. Obviously, you know, if you're here and watching and listening, you've got at least some online presence.
Of course, yeah.
But we are always looking to do, you know, help people who don't as well. So we do have basic digital courses to put out there for people. So if you do know someone who's looking to access even something like this course, which is inherently digital, but you know they need like an email or like a YouTube account or whatever it is they need help setting up, we can do that as well.
Of course, yeah, all the digital side of stuff, you know, it's only going to be more beneficial going forward, you know, like you say. I think there's going to be a lot of like you say, stuff that stays online. Well, especially as we wait and see what's going to happen with numbers and stuff like that, you know.
But even accessing like basic government information, a lot of it's just that, you know, where would you get the information that's on .gov.uk as quickly as you can anywhere else? Like you'd have to ring a helpline or, you know,
of course.
Now you can go to .gov.uk and you can read the most up-to-date guidelines like that. So it's handy even just on that level.
Yeah, just those really basic digital skills, which of course you guys are absolutely amazing at getting people caught up to speed with. Normally myself as well, you know what I mean. If I'm struggling with stuff tech wise, I know exactly where to go, man. I know exactly where to go. So yeah, that's definitely something. Again, if you want any more info on any of those courses, again, just drop me an email or get in touch with one of the guys at the office.
I will put the generic email address in the chat, which if you're watching it back, the chat should be replaying along the right hand side.
Cool. And of course, just before we do sort of dive into today's session, again, just thinking about sort of how isolated some of us are. You know, some of us are really lucky that we might be locked down with a partner or parents or whoever, you know. Some of us are locked down by ourselves, maybe it's a little bit more isolated. Maybe a lot of our social interaction is coming online, you know. Be aware sort of anybody that might try and sort of approach you, or of course people that you do know that you feel might be in that vulnerable position, or sometimes even not, you know. Just keep an eye out for any sort of drastic sudden changes in their behavior, you know, with withdrawal, stuff like that, further sort of isolation, and again, if you do see a change in somebody's behavior that you're not too sure about, it doesn't hurt, and of course we do recommend just come and let one of us guys know, you know, just to be safe. But I think that'll about do us for housekeeping. I'm sure we're all ready to get stuck in and get started.
Yeah.
So, buddy, we'll roll on to the to the next slide then, mate, if you don't mind.
Yes, we can do. If I can find, I'm opening all the windows instead of just clicking the next button. There you are.
Thank you, buddy. And of course, if any of what we've just sort of been over sort of doesn't make much sense, same again, just reach out and give us a shout, you know, if there's anything that you're not sure of. But let's get into it. Let's get it done. So, just to start us off and get the old brain working, we've just got a little crossword to do. Yeah. So what we've got our clues down the right hand side, which is the bones in the body that we're going to be trying to sort of name and then identify. So of course, just take 5-10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Again, grab yourself a pen and a piece of paper if you want, because I find with crosswords it's easier to maybe write them down, see where sort of words cross over. Okay, that letter's sort of third in that word. I've got a bit of a clue there, you know. I find that sometimes a little bit easy way to do it. If you'd rather just work from the screen, then by all means do, you know. So we've got our clues down the right hand side. And like I say, we haven't covered any of this yet, so don't fret if there's any of them that you're not so sure about. Get in the ones that you can. It might give you clues for some of the others, and if nothing else, it gives you an idea of, right, okay, this is where I'm at with my understanding of the skeleton. You know, I'm aware, you know, what certain bones are, but other ones not, and it just gives you an idea of where you're at, which is really handy as we're just starting, because we can compare that again at the end of the session, you know, and see how you're feeling with stuff. So yeah, just take like I say, 5-10 minutes, work out the ones of those that you can get, and then like I say, we'll just take a couple of minutes to work through them all together, get that filled in before we move on.
You've got some wonderful copyright free Kevin MacLeod McLeod, happy game show.
There we go. Well, we wouldn't have the guys working in silence, would we?
The feature of every time we have any kind of quiz, crossword, word search. We need it. We need some back news.
We've got to have it, man. We've got to have it.
Might change it up next time. I think Daniel's doing next week, but the week after I'll change it up.
Okay. Okay. Nice one. I'll just have to make sure we're doing the quizzes on the weeks that you're on.
Yeah. I mean, Daniel can play something else. We'll have a rotation. Nice. Oh, nice, man.
Cool. Yeah, guys. So, like I say, the live chat is there as well. If you did want to put anything in there, of course, me and Hatham are always sort of keeping an eye on the live chat as well while we're on. So it is a really good chance to just sort of jump in. Any questions that you might have. Of course, we can just address in real time, you know, while we're on, and especially while people are taking a little bit of time just to work through exercises like this.
So if you don't want to, just make a note of them, and Rob, your email is in the description also.
Of course, thank you very much, buddy.
Contact Rob. Yeah,
you know, if you'd rather do it in again a little bit more like a little bit more of a private setting, you know.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a lot to think about. There's a lot going on with the skeleton, you know. There's obviously, we've got sort of generic terms that we probably use day to day when we speak to our friends, our family, that we might use for certain bones. And then, of course, we've got the more sort of formal scientific names that we're going to be looking at today. And just little ways that we can try and make them stick in our mind, you know, and just little different ways to remember them. And of course, we're all different in that as well, you know, so whatever works for yourself. Little bit of trivia or a little quiz, or just off the top of your heads. Do you know how many bones we've got in the human body? You know, something to think about. And I'll
I'm gonna guess. I think it's 126.
126.
I think.
126. Okay, so
that was as soon as you said it.
Just in there.
Don't tell them yet.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna
guess. Lock that in.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you guys at the end, because I do want to hear what guesses. Yeah. I do want to know what you're thinking. So yeah, I'm actually gonna tell you guys at the end. So we're thinking about it more as from a full adult point of view, because kids are actually born with more, and they fuse together as they get older and as they develop, you know, which is why
more bones.
Kids do, yeah. Kids are actually born with more bones and they fuse together, you know. Whereas we've got the cranium or the skull, which is a few sort of separate plates fused together. That fusing isn't quite as strong on a baby, which is why, of course, you've got to watch out for the soft spot. Of course, yeah, you've got to be careful how they're handling the head. And I guess part of it, to an extent, is why kids are so bouncy, in the sense that they can fall off of something or run into something and they just get up and run away. You know what I mean? When you're a little bit older and you stay down and you know you've been hit, you know you've hurt yourself. Yeah. Whereas kids are just like elastic; they just like bounce off and they're away. And like I say, it's just because some of those that will go on to be bone is actually sort of maybe more sort of cartilage at the time. You know, so yeah, that's something to think about. But yeah, so how many bones do we end up with? That's what we're looking for. How many bones do we end up with? But yes, definitely drink your milk. Plenty of calcium. Again, you know, that's something we can look at down the line when we're looking at our vitamins, our minerals, and all of that side of things as well. Okay, so we'll just take a couple of minutes and start working through these then, buddy.
Yeah.
So what we've got.
I'm gonna do the same thing I did last time.
Fill them in as we go, yeah. Cool. So we can take a little bit more time as we're going through anyway.
We're gonna have to, because I'm gonna have to write them in. Yeah, I've got to.
Yeah.
Me writing on the mouse is too much. Right. I'm ready.
Cool. Right. So the first one we've got 4 across. It's hips. You know, it's again probably the more generic term that you're going to hear for your hips, but it's the pelvis. You know, probably a word that you've come across before. It might be a word that you've heard and you just didn't know where in your body it was. And And that's what it is. It's kind of it's very much like an anchor, sort of. Everything that connects your upper half and your lower half runs through not only the lower back but the pelvis as well.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, that's the pelvis where your hips are. The name of the skull, I gave it away a minute ago, is a bit of a freebie. Is the cranium.
Yeah. Is that 5 across?
That is 5 across, mate. Yeah. 5 across for cranium. And again, you know, that's something we can look at again down the line, different types of bones and the ways that they fit together, different types of joints. But the cranium itself, if you've ever seen like a picture of just a skull, you can even see the fuse lines. You can even see the separate plates where they do fit together. In like I say, in your head. Yeah. So it's not just one bone, believe it or not, and it doesn't actually include this one either, where your jaw is. That is its own bone.
Your mandible?
Your mandible, mate. Nice one. You've been revising.
Yes.
You know it was the skeleton this morning.
Nah, all about the bones.
Yeah, that's man. So the skull or the cranium is actually sort of everything but the jaw.
The top half of your head.
Pretty much.
It's because they never have the mandible when you see a skeleton. Like when you go and to a museum or whatever, they always just have the cranium, because the mandible just like goes to bits. You'll always just see the top half of teeth.
I saw something the other day actually that said about if you really think about it, it's impossible to bite down on something because
you're biting up.
You bite up, yeah. It's your jaw that moves. Yeah, it was one of them mind blowing moments. It really was. Go on,
if you like force your jaw so it kind of moves down.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah. Don't try this.
Isn't that thing with
Don't try this.
Crocodiles where they've got like the most powerful jaw coming down, but it's so weak going up that if you just do this on the top, they can't do anything.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And that's got something to do with the way their jaw functions. So like closing down, it's like one of the tightest things on the planet, but like going the other way, if you just do that, they kind of open the mouth.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I can't remember what it like. It's so they just tape it. If you ever see them at like the zoo or whatever, they just put a bit of tape around because they kind of.
Oh yeah, because they can like clamp down really hard by trying to open the mouth.
With the way the jaw is.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's sort of relevant. I guess not. If there's any crocodiles listening, I'm sorry for.
That's it. Your secret's out. Your secret's out now.
For you.
Yeah. Okay. Next one across. Eight across. We've got kneecap. It's patella. Patella. So that might be a word that you've come across before. It's not as common as some of the other ones that you might have heard. You know.
Rob, could you please spell this for me? Is it double T?
One T.
One T, two L's.
Two L's. Yeah.
Okay. My handwriting is. I have to take it nice and slow if you want to be able to understand it with the mouth. But there you go, you should get that one.
Patella. Okay, cool. Protecting our heart and lungs, 9 across, is our ribs.
9
yeah,
across
so
is the ribs.
Yeah, so of course we've got our rib cage, which again in a minute we're going to get into the different functions of the skeleton, but it is there to protect everything sort of within. Your lungs, your heart, just keeping them safe. You know, them vital organs. And
when you were saying about falling over before, have you ever landed on your ribs or had anything hit into them? You're sharp to find out about it.
Oh yeah. They'll let you know where they are. Definitely. Now we've got and we've got an image to look at in a second, but there's the full there's ribs that'll come all the way from the spine and connect on at the front. You know, give you that full cage. Front to back, and then lower down you've actually got floating ribs which start from the spine and come forward, but they don't connect onto the front, onto that breastplate. And normally if you're going to break a rib, it'll be one of those what we call floating ribs, because it hasn't got that second point of connection, so those are a little bit more brittle. Protecting our heart and lungs is our ribs. So our bone in our forearm above the thumb, we've got the radius. Yeah, so we've got actually 2 bones in our forearm, the radius being one of them that connects down from the thumb. funny one to think about your forearm bones, because you think about they sort of, if they run here, sort of parallel to each other, they connect there. And it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. If you rotate your wrist, they've still connected in the same way there, but they've crossed over on the way up. They must have crossed. Yeah, you can actually feel it. You can actually feel it if you put your hand on it. You can feel them move and sort of overlap. You know, which is why if you're in a position where those are overlapped and you get impact on your arm, you're more likely to get a break there as well, because you've got bones sort of impacting on each other. Yeah, not nice.
They break quite often though, don't they?
Yeah, because they are, and again, when we look at the diagram, you'll see they're just a little bit more smaller, a little bit more fragile than some of the bigger bones.
The bottom of your leg as well, like in terms of structure, right?
Yeah. You notice, of course, if you follow the football or even sort of any impact sports, if they're going to get an injury on the leg, it's knee down rather than knee up.
It's normally elbow down for your arm as well. When you see like it happen.
Yeah, it is. So it is. It's those smaller bones that are a little bit more fragile, which is, again, you know, I think part of why they're in our extremities. They're further away from the all the vital organs that need protecting. You know, it's almost like the closer to the center and the closer to the core you come, the stronger those bones are, and that's not by accident. You know, that is with good reason. Okay, so we've done the radius coming down from the thumb. So the long bone at the top of your arm, you know, might be one you've heard before. If you've ever banged it, you've got your funny bone. It's actually called the humerus. You know, it's not so funny when you bang it off the door frame on the way through or off the bedside cabinet.
How much time is
the humerus. So the humerus, where are we? So we are 12 across. HUM.
Yeah.
ER.
Yeah.
US.
But I was the end bit. Got it.
Yeah, cool. So that is, rather than, like I say, two bones being sort of working alongside each other, that is just one long bone, and it looks very similar to your sort of stereotypical bone that you would see. You know, we've got lots of bones in different shapes and sizes, and as we're about to get into, they've got different functions. So let's get into it. So yeah. We've done across now, haven't we? Yeah. No, we haven't. Oh, we've got larger leg bone at the front. Yeah. So, like Ethan was just saying a minute ago, we've got the same sort of structure in our lower legs as in our forearms, and we've got two smaller bones. Now, the one we're thinking of, the larger one at the front, is what you think about with your shin. You know, if you've ever banged your shin, that's the one that you've banged. That is the tibia. So TIBIA. Tibia in the front, and again, it's handy to find little ways in your mind to try and pair up or realize and remember which bone sits where, you know, as we get a little bit further down the line. Okay, cool. So we're on to the down clues now. Yeah, so we've got the collarbone.
Yeah.
Same again. It's quite a common one to break. It can take sort of a lot of impact from a fall, stuff like that. Normally, you know, if you get an impact around the shoulder joint, it's your clavicle that's going to break. It's not that stronger sort of humerus, you know, the upper arm bone. It is normally the clavicle that'll sort of give under the pressure, whatever that might be. But yeah, that's the clavicle across there.
Yeah.
Smaller leg bone, so the one at the back. Is the fibula. So we had the bigger one at the front. Yeah, we've got the tibia, which is your shin bone, and then we've got the fibula at the back, which is it's a smaller bone, and it's sort of, like I say, a little bit more sort of out the way with it being at the back. Chances of you banging your fibula before your tib or your tibia are pretty slim, because naturally we're walking forward most of the time, and it's going to be your shin that finds the coffee table in the dark room in the middle of the night, isn't it? You know.
Always.
Yeah, you shouldn't find any corners in the house or anything like that. No bother. Chances are your fibula, the smaller bone at the back, is getting a little bit more protection.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 down, we've got the shoulder blade, or the scapula. So again, you know, let me know, because I always find it quite interesting to know what of these terms people have come across, because having done the job that I've done for so long, working in the gym, you become so familiar with people knowing these terms, and it's almost like a second language. It'd be quite interesting to know and to hear from you guys, you know, what's a new word to you, what's one that you've just never come across before, that you've maybe lived 20, 30, 40 years with actually inside your body, you know. So yeah, I always find that interesting. So you definitely let me know. Scapula is one of them that you sort of find sort of 50-50. You might have come across it, you might have not. But yeah, that's what you'd think about was your shoulder blade. That's responsible for a lot of sort of shoulder movement, especially in terms of them sort of rounding forward, retracting and pulling back as you go to puff your chest out. A lot of that comes from the scapula, and of course the muscles around them as well, because as much as skeletons do, your skeleton does help with movement. You're not going anywhere without the muscles that pull them through whatever range they need to move through, you know, which is why down the line we'll be looking at the muscular system as well. Okay, so that was scapula done and dusted. Toes and fingers is phalanges. Now we're thinking about the very tips.
Yeah.
Again, you know, we'll see as we get through to our diagram that we're going to label, you'll realise how similar the makeup and the structure is in the bones in the hand and the foot. And they are very similar, but the only bones that we call the same thing are the very tips, and those are the phalanges.
How am I spelling phalanges?
It is, yeah, it is. So I've got PHA.
Yeah.
LAN.
Ah, right, okay. I put double L. LANGES.
GES, yeah. Yeah.
Run out of characters.
It's like, yeah, Rob, are you sure they're phalanges?
Got it.
Yeah. So the phalanges are in your fingertips and the tips of your toes. They're not part of an aeroplane that's going to mean that you need to get off.
The problem with the left phalanges.
There we go. Yeah, there's a generation test for you. Yeah, that's it. If you know, you know. Okay, so yeah, phalanges right at the very tips. Then we've got 7 down, the long bone at the top of the leg. That is the femur. Interesting fact about the femur: it's the biggest single bone in the body. It is a big old bone, and that is actually responsible for producing some of your like blood cells as well. Yeah. You know, there's actually sort of red blood cell production goes on within some of these longer, like I say, your more sort of stereotypical shape bones. So they're not just there to hold us still, you know, and make sure that we're not just skin and muscle, you know, at the end of the day, and giving us that little bit of structure. There's a little bit more to it than that. And of course, that's what we're going to get into. So we've got 10 down is the breastbone or the breastplate. Again, if you've ever seen Pulp Fiction's one that jumps to mind, if you've ever seen any film or anything like that where someone's given like an injection into the heart, be it an adrenaline shot, something like that, it's the breastplate that you've got there that they mentioned needing to be forceful to sort of penetrate, you know. Sometimes they'll actually have to break ribs in the process of CPR just pressing down on this breastplate because it's just so solid. Yeah. And of course it's sitting front and center in front of your heart and lungs. Its job is to protect and not really be moved. And that's the sternum. 10 down, that is the sternum, you know. Again, you might have heard that in sort of sports talk. Yeah. Quite sort of common injuries to especially injuries to the torso and stuff like that. Because of course you find that, think about it with like shock absorbers on your car, you know. They're designed to move so you don't take as much of that shock.
Yeah.
If you've got a bone like this one that's designed not to move very well and not move very far, you feel that impact so much more. Yeah. You know, which is why sort of impact there really can hurt. Not to mention that it's sitting on top of heart and lungs again, two of the most vital organs that we've got. So yeah, sternum's an interesting one to know because obviously just sitting where it is, And like
It's
I say,
like
it's
armor,
handy.
innit?
It is. That's bang on, mate. Yeah, it really is, and it's handy to know about that and where it's sort of sitting if you ever are in that position where you need to do CPR, apply the breath of life, stuff like that as well. You know, so yeah, that is the sternum 10 down. The last one we've got then is the bone in the forearm above the little finger. You know, so we've mentioned that we've got the two. We said the coming down from the thumb is the radius. Coming down from the little finger, we've got the ulna. So ULNA. And again, you know, trying to find a way in your mind to pair up which is which. The way I do it, and again, you might find something that works better for yourself. That's not to say that you've got to necessarily use this method, but the way I do it, I always look at the two words. Okay, so I know the two bones in there are the radius and the ulna. So which is which? So I remember the little word is associated with the little finger. That's the way I do it. The shorter word, ulna, runs down from the little finger. You know, again, you might find a way that works better for yourself to remember that, but that's the way I do it. You know, little finger, little word, out of the two. You know, process of elimination, and then you know that the other one has to be the radius. You know, so that might just be a little tip that you use to keep yourself right for now. Or like I say, you might find something else. If you do, again, let me know. Let me know, because I'm aware that it's handy to have these little tips to just sort of remember what goes where in the body, because there's a lot of new terms. There might be a lot of words that you're hearing today for the first time, you know. So again, finding ways to sort of make that information stick is really important, and I'll be curious to know how you do that for yourself. Because I think the one thing that we will do over the next 12 weeks, especially if we do end up working in that one-to-one setting, and if we're interacting sort of in the live chat and stuff like that, just get an idea, you know, the best way that you guys learn, what sort of helps drive information home to you as an individual, because we all learn differently as well, you know. So that can only help going forward as well. So before we roll on and look at the answers to,
God, sorry, but
have you spun on? I've just
moved my life away. I was trying desperately to mute my mic, but
I had noticed, mate. Nicely saved. Okay, so
yeah, we're back. We're on the next slide.
The skeleton's got 4 functions. What are they, or how many can we think of?
I've accidentally shown the stream everything, so there you go. They're all there.
There we go. So there might have been some of these that you had thought of. You know, like I say, I think the first thing,
all of them, to be honest.
I probably have so far, you know. So just a little check, you know, make sure we're listening. Yeah, it's some of them I think are a little bit more sort of obvious than others, you know. Or I would certainly say so, you know, in terms of the sort of movement and the support and the shape. You know, if we didn't have skeleton and we didn't have the bones that we've got, we would look totally different. That is where our shape comes from. You know, our muscles and our muscular system are there and have evolved the way that they have and work the way that they have to move those bones that are there through the ranges that they need to, you know, and through the ranges that they are designed to. And again, you know, we'll look into how the muscular and the skeletal system sort of pair up and work together a little bit further down the line. But of course, they do work hand in hand. You got muscles. You might be able to control them. You might be able to contract them. Again, if the skeleton wasn't there, you're not going to have that. You're not going to be able to do anything with that. You're not going to be able to move around. You're not going to be able to stand up. Anything like that goes out the window as soon as the sort of skeleton's taken out of the equation.
But then as soon as the muscle breaks down as well, like you'll have difficulty moving that part of your body as well.
Yeah. You will if you've ever had an injury or anything like that where you've maybe hurt a muscle and you've not been able to work a joint through a certain range for a while, you know, it might be you've got I don't know, you might have a bad quadricep or a bad thigh muscle, you know, and for example you can't be doing squats and stuff like that, and you're getting that sort of discomfort in your knee when you're doing certain things, so you stop doing it. You know, sooner or later your muscle recovers. It might be a little bit tight, it might be a little bit stiff, but that stiffness is going to be more in the skeleton than anything. You know, that joint that hasn't moved over that range for a while, you know. I used to work with one guy he was a long distance lorry driver. So you think he's spending a lot of his day driving along with his arms like that, elevated on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
He could not, when I started training him, he could not extend his arms above his head, at all. Like you're talking like no weights involved, no resistance involved. He just didn't have that range because it had been so long since he'd needed to do that. Almost his skeleton had forgot that the bones had forgot that they actually moved through that range. You know, they might have been a little bit harder to move through that range.
Well, that's the whole point of like exercise, isn't it? Like you're not, unless you're training for something specific.
Yeah.
To have overall good health, it would mean I mean we talk about it quite often, but like fitness is a relative term, really, and it's subjective. So
yeah, well, your bones actually, of course, as you get older, they become a little bit more brittle, and they're a little bit more sort of fragile, susceptible to breaking.
How do you get around that? What do you do to slow that down?
Believe it or not, I mean, there is, of course, the healthy diet side of things and being aware of what it is that you're eating and the nutritional side of things. Yeah. But resistance training, so we're talking about, of course, anything that's bearing your own weight. Extra weight can be a bonus, you know, if you're working against resistance on a machine, like that sort of thing. Resistance bands, yeah, any kind of resistance actually develops bone density.
Okay.
So I trained a lady once upon a time who came to me and she had sort of early onset osteoporosis.
Yeah.
And for her, you know, she didn't want to lose a load of weight. She wasn't trying to she wasn't training for the Great North Run. She had she's not going to the Olympics now like that, you know what I mean? All she wanted to do was just be a little bit more active and give her bones and her muscles a little bit more longevity, you know, which I think is what 95% of us want to do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so easy to get swept up in, I'm doing this training routine that he's doing, even though he's 20 years younger and he's training for this. Like, I'm doing that as well. It's like, no, we all need something a little bit different, you know. It's called personal training for a reason. Otherwise, it'd just be training. Do you know what I mean? If it was a one-size-fits-all approach, everybody would just be doing the same program, and trying to go to the gym would be a nightmare because everyone would be on the same machines that you needed to be on.
I think there's always basics you can come back to, but I think it's like definitely like make it relevant to you, especially if you've got like an underlying health condition. Like something like osteoporosis is very, very specific to your bones.
Yes, of course. And the longer you let it go and the more you let it develop, the harder it is to sort of not only live with but address, you know, when you are going to.
Some people have like really bad arthritis, things like that, where exercise isn't going to cure you, but it's probably going to help.
Yeah,
Even though it's going to be painful, though, that's the problem. It's going to hurt.
Part of the process, isn't it? Yeah.
It's long run. It's going to be better if you've given your body a bit of a chance.
Bit of a chance to adapt, because that's what we're doing when we're training. We're forcing an adaptation.
Yeah.
We're forcing our body to adapt to what it is that we're doing, so we can do it better next time. Really, on a basic level, you know, that's all getting stronger is.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, okay, I've struggled a bit this time. You know, I've reacted to that. I'm getting used to doing that. I'm going to get better at it, and you just become more efficient.
Well, the people who are best at training are people who do it consistently.
Yeah.
It's not about like, oh, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to bench press like 100 kilos, and then I'm going to like do a front squat of like 90, and I'm just going to keep doing it till I'm like buff. Like, you know, it's pointless going in and piling weight on, because you're not going to get any. Well, you will actually. You'll get somewhere in the short term. But in the long term, you're going to end up hurting yourself. And it's the same with running, and it's the same with just any exercise, really. If you overdo it, you're not going to end up in good shape, and you're probably going to end up with mobility problems and joint problems and all the rest of it.
Niggles. Do you know what? Niggles are the worst, because it's like, it's not enough of an inconvenience to know that exercise is like right off the cards.
Right.
You know, and you might want to still be doing something. You might convince yourself you can do something. Then you start and that niggle flares up, and it's like.
So do you know what I mean? When you were working in the gym, did you get a lot of people who would come in with problems from overtraining, like with movement and?
Yeah, well, I was just about to mention actually. Yeah, I know that you'd mentioned obviously about resistance training to strengthen your bones.
Yeah.
If you think about it as well, the more you can strengthen your muscular system, the less strain there is on your bones and on your joints. You actually alleviate some of that stress and some of that tension.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I've got sciatica.
Okay.
Like, I'm naturally flat-footed, which means I put a lot of pressure on my back when I run or walk, or even jump. Like when I land if I take a step down from something, I'm landing on a flat foot, which is putting it basically shoots all the impact goes straight into my lower back. So
Right away
the
up.
physio was like, you need to strengthen your legs and your lower back. Your muscles need to be able to take some of this weight and some of this force.
Because your skeleton's doing so much.
Yeah, you're going to have some serious nerve problems.
Yeah,
forward.
definitely. And you think about from a postural point of view as well, from your posture. If you're overtraining or not training with good form, you're pulling your body into shapes that it's not necessarily happy being in.
Yeah, and does that affect your skeleton as well?
That will over time, definitely.
If you've got a muscle that's in the wrong place, and I take it that's not where it should be, then your skeleton's out of position as well, right? So you're all out of alignment.
Yeah, exactly. Again, something to think about certainly through lockdown, but even as a society, I think
this posture here.
Exactly, mate. Exactly what I'm about to say. We spend a lot more time sat down. We spend a lot more time hunched over, and at first, that's a muscular thing to correct. But the longer that goes on, and the more those bones get used to being pulled in that position, the harder that is to change and correct as well.
Yeah.
Actually strengthening your muscular system can help your skeleton out in the long run. And just help you feel better as well. Like I say, mentioning posture and stuff like that just while we're on. Sitting right, it's going to help you breathing, all of that side of things as well. I say, it's so linked in. Yeah, it really is. It really is. I've again had people who can't sleep on their back at night because their maybe abs or hip flexors aren't strong enough, and having their feet flat and being in that flat position arches their lower back, and it just puts tension on, and they can't lie flat.
Yeah.
And more often than not, that's a tension, either in the muscles or skeleton. So again, that's going to have a knock-on effect. If you go to sleep in one position and stay there for 8 hours, it's a 30 a day, and it's dangerous because you're sleeping through it. Your brain's it's not recording, so it's almost like sort of dead time, but your body's still there going through whatever it's going through physically. And if you're waking up and you're getting out of bed stiff and aching,
or cracks, if your body's cracking all over the shop, it's like all. I know it's just gas, but it shouldn't. If it's doing it like every time you stand up, if your knees crack, something's not right. Once or twice, that's fine. It's just air escaping. But like, if every time you stand up or you lean down to pick something up and your back's cracking or your neck's cracking, there's something's in slightly the wrong position and being dragged out of place. It's like, oh no.
Yeah. I just before we spin on, I used to train. It was the same bloke actually, who couldn't press above his head. He had chronic pain in his left knee.
Yeah.
Terrible pain. To the point it was getting in the way a lot of exercises. And what we figured it out was, in the end, when he was getting in from a long day driving, he was getting in, loading up the computer, proper desktop computer, proper old school. Yeah. He'd put one foot on the desk. He'd put his left foot on the desk and rest his right leg over the top and sit cross-legged and just sort of lean back and play with the mouse.
Like hyperextend his knee as well.
Hyperextending his knee with the weight of his other leg. So that'd be 2-3 hours almost every night.
Yeah. Do you know what?
Wondering why he can't squat, and that's his clutch leg as well. He's doing a lot of driving with that.
Well, I was just about to say his leg was probably already knackered from pushing the pedal all day. It's just tiny bit of resistance, but if you're doing that for 10 hours a day or whatever, no good is it?
Yeah. So that in itself could just be, just really sort of highlight the position that you're putting your body in, even when you're not exercising. Your body's always going to respond to.
I think even things. I was reading an article not long ago about like having something in your back pocket. I think I told you. So like if you carry a wallet or like your keys, when you sit down on it, you're slightly out of alignment. So that puts pressure on that one side, which means instead of sitting with your shoulders like in a neutral position, you're like that. You're slightly like that. And if you do that for 8 hours a day, like all of a sudden you might stand up and you might be like, my back's got cramp in it, and you might just think, I've been sat down for a while, but I notice it straight away.
And it's maybe like an inch. It's like an inch different. Do you know what I mean? But that difference can either be in your shoulders, or it'll show in your hips, and your pelvis will sit a little bit more to one side. Which is going to have that knock-on effect all the way up the body. It really does.
I'm just trying to think, like, just stupid stuff I do. Like, sometimes I'll sit with my feet under the desk, but my ankles, instead of being flat-footed, I'll have them like twisted in. So I've got my feet, like the soles of my feet touching each other like that. But that means my ankle's twisted on like a 45-degree angle. And I'll stand up and my ankles will be hurt. I'm like, oh no. But like I can do it for like a couple of hours sometimes. I'll just sit at my desk with my ankles slightly twisted in a position it's not meant to be in. And then I wonder why when I go out on a run, like it's killing every time.
You sat there praying the fire alarm doesn't go off and you put a quick escape, roll down the stairs.
Unconscious things that you do, like with your posture, with the way you've got your legs sitting, with the way you've got your knees, your back, whatever. And we're all guilty of it because it's just you're not thinking about it.
Yeah, that's it, definitely. You might be sat there at home saying to yourself, I don't do anything like that. Yeah. Keep an eye out for it in the next week. Now you've done this session, keep an eye out and just think about what position have I got my bones in now.
Or you're leaning on your elbow, I bet, like this. Yeah. This is bad for you. Like, I bet there's one thing that you do. Well, do you constantly crack your knuckles? Do you constantly crack your neck?
Yeah.
There'll be something.
Yeah, there will be. So yeah, just get a little bit more in tune with your body this week and just have a little bit of a think about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much those covered there. I know I mentioned blood production earlier on. It's not a main, it's not necessarily a main function of a lot of bones, but there are certain bones in the body that are responsible for that and doing that, red and white blood cells. Yeah. It is typically in them longer bones, your humerus, your femur, but yeah, sort of actually within the bone, within the bone
using
marrow,
your bone marrow.
Yeah, sort of going in within those hollow sort of cavities. Because of course we think of bones as being sort of solid and dense, but there's sort of cavities within them where these other little things going on as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so I reckon we can roll on from there then. So we've got our little diagram, yeah.
We've got answers for this one, so I don't need to annotate anything.
No, you don't need to annotate this one. We'll same again. We'll take maybe 5-10 minutes.
You know what time it is. I just need to give me a second, and I will find the Kevin McLeod. I tell you what, let's play a different one. Let's have a different Kevin McLeod.
Oh, we're having a curveball today.
We'll have a different one. Oh no, I've opened his channel and a million things have started trying to autoplay. Right.
If you guys do want to make a start and just start labeling. You sorry, buddy?
We've got Superpower Cool Dude.
Yeah, that sounds good for Tuesday.
Right. I'm going to set it to loop so that it just plays over and over again. Nice
one, cool. So yeah, again, if you've got a pen and a bit of paper handy from earlier on when we were doing our crossword, like I say, maybe just start scribbling some names down.
You don't have to draw the skeleton.
You don't have to draw the skeleton.
Not that well, anyway. That's it's a very anatomically correct skeleton.
It is. And again, now we can actually start to get a look at some of the bones we've been talking about earlier on. We can see those two bones in the forearm and sort of like the lower leg. Yeah, no worries, man. Like I say, we can see sort of from the elbow down and the knee down, our structure's very similar. In our limbs, in our extremities, I think it adds a lot of credibility to the argument that we potentially used to walk on all fours. That we've maybe evolved from animals that do walk on all fours. We can see that sternum that I was on about earlier on, sitting right in the middle of the chest, in the middle of the rib cage. We can see just that solid bit of bone. And then we can see just below those, we've got those ribs I was on about that don't fully connect all the way around the front. Like I say, those are the ones that are more likely to sort of break. We can see the sort of from halfway up the rib cage, just above the line where number 6 is coming across, we can see that they are connected, and that is the breastplate there. Again, that's what you're pushing on for your CPR, like your breath of life, and that is the one that if you are needing to do, or even when you just see in films, if they're doing like adrenaline shots and stuff like that, that's going to go through there, So that's where that is. The kneecap. We can see is its own bone as well, mainly to protect. I think a lot of people, when it comes to the kneecap and the knee in general, they think of movement. because of course that's what your knee does. It moves like that hinge joint. It opens and it closes. Now the funny thing is, your knees would still do that even if the kneecap wasn't there. The kneecap's not there to help the joint move. The kneecap is there to sort of plug the gap and cover the sort of more vital stuff on the inside of the joint as you open that joint up to bend your knee. You know, that would all be protected when you've got a straight leg. But as you open up the knee joint and bend your leg, that would expose, of course, like a lot of ligaments, tendons, nerves, even stuff like that, you know. Even when you kneel sometimes in the wrong way, you know, if you'll kneel a little bit funny and there's a little bit of something on the floor that you haven't seen, like, you'll still feel it. You will still feel it. Now, you imagine if you were trying to do that with no kneecap. So that's what the kneecap is there for. It's there to, or the patella. It's there to just protect all of those sort of nerves, stuff like that as well. We're not quite there yet, buddy, because I'm quite interested to see sort of as we've been through a couple of bits, how well we can sort of remember these different bits. But if me and Hatham do start whipping through the answers, and you're not ready for the answers, and you'd like a couple more minutes just to try and get that last one yourself. Yeah. Just give you another couple of minutes to rack your brain. Yeah. By all means, pause. You can catch up afterwards, and like I say, if you're watching this back later on in the week,
yeah, just take a pause, 5 minutes, and
take your time with it. Yeah.
And not a formal test, so
it's not.
Have a go.
It's not. You know, and of course these videos are always there to watch back as well, you know. So if you can do your one-to-one Zoom call, you can ring me, or you can get in touch with me and say, look, Rob, I could just do with a little bit of guidance with this, or you can just come back and revisit the video, whatever works best for you. You know, and you can come back and you can just sort of go through everything again. You can use it as revision. You can use it when it comes to filling in your workbooks as well. You know, like Hatham says, it's not an exam. It's not like a formal quiz. It's just to make sure that information's gone in pretty much. Yeah. Okay, so just before we do start going through answers, just to take a couple of minutes on the spine, because the spine's an interesting one, because it's normally your spinal column. Yeah. As much as anything, you know, really, really important for not only movement, but sort of that structure and that support as well, you know. Not so much protection. It's funny because the lower back's one of the few places where you've got muscle that's there to protect bone rather than vice versa. Yeah. Because your lower back muscles and stuff like that are all helping pad the impact on your spine. But when we realise the role of the spine, and it's pretty much sort of like the motorway of the body, really. I think anything that's going top to bottom, bottom to top, has got to run through that sort of through that channel. You know, and like you say, Hatham, when you mention things like sciatica and stuff like that, a little bit of sciatica will soon like sort of let you know where your nerves are running, or certainly your sciatic nerve. You know, you'll feel it up your back, down your legs, sometimes down into your toes, even. You know, it might be sort of like a burning ache, like a burn or a tingle somewhere in your calf. It could be in your bum. You know, it could be in your glutes. But it does it all goes through there. You know, and the spine is actually broken down into different sections. Where we are, so we've got the cervical. So what we've got each bone, and you can see from that picture there that we've sort of got a collection of different little bones all kind of stuck together. Yeah. I don't know if you can zoom in actually, buddy, whether that might just highlight that a little bit more. But what we've actually got is bone upon bone upon bone upon bone, all stacked with like a little bit of cartilage in between to pad them out. So your spine isn't just one bone, unless you're Ronnie Coleman now, in which case your spine probably is.
Some people do. I was going to say some people are fused, aren't they?
Of course, yeah. But that's exactly it. Yeah, you might lose a little bit of movement.
A lateral view, which has got your oh god. The coccyx at the bottom. I'm going to go with that. I don't know what the other word is. A coccygeo? Okay.
Okay.
It's got all the numbers on it. So hang on, let's have a look at this. Here. I don't know if you've got the stream open. So.
I've got the stream open, buddy. Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to catch up.
Should pop up.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Click onto that. Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So yeah, we've actually got these. It's like I say, it's almost like discs. If you've ever heard of anybody say they've slipped a disc, that's what they're talking about. They've got these little sort of they just stacked on each other, and of course the space between them is padded with cartilage to stop them rubbing against each other. But that's what allows you that movement, you know. Now the spine is it's not sort of copy paste top to bottom. There's different parts of the spine that needs to do different things. So we've got at the top, we've got what we call the sort of cervical vertebrae, and that's the top 7 from sort of like the base of your skull down over. Now the main function for most of those, or pretty much all of those, really is movement in sort of like a pivoting sort of sense. If you turn left or right, it's one bone sitting on top of the other and just rotating and letting you look side to side, you know. And again, if you've ever seen anybody with even just a neck brace, you know, how hard is it to look side to side? You have to physically turn your body, you know. And if those vertebrae in your neck were fused together rather than separate, that would be exactly the same. Your whole body would need to turn, your shoulders would need to come round as well. Which of course isn't ideal, you know. We're evolved to be as energy efficient as we can be, because from a survival point of view, all the energy that we spend, we need to replace elsewhere.
You need to see those, like, you know, polar bears or whatever it is that are coming to get you.
Oh, exactly.
Whatever it was coming to get you, you need to be able to see them.
You need to know what's coming to get you, exactly, buddy. Yeah, really good point. So we've got the that's the top section, like I say, the cervical vertebrae. So that's the top 7. So from there we get down into thoracic, or what we call a thoracic sort of section, or thoracic vertebrae. And again, that is where that's where your ribs are going to come from. You know, they're going to cut down to form your rib cage. That's where your floating ribs are going to connect on. Again, they don't connect around the front, so they're a little bit more fragile, a little bit more susceptible to breakage, stuff like that. And yeah, you've got a lot of your movements again around your upper body, twisting, a lot of that sort of that hunched position, and reversing that and puffing your chest out wouldn't be possible again, or would be certainly a lot harder to do if those vertebrae were all fused together, you know. So we can start to see already why individual bones adds a lot more to it than like I say, if it was just one bone in itself. Yeah, definitely. And then working down from there, so the thoracic vertebrae is the next 12 down from your cervical, and then we've got your lumbar spine, which is the next 5. So although that's only 5 vertebrae, that's actually the part where you're going to get a lot more movement. You know, if you think just above your pelvis isn't a particularly mobile bone, you know. Like I say, it's pretty much like an anchor for a lot of stuff and holding a lot of stuff together. But the 5 vertebrae are kind of just above the pelvis, or certainly as we're getting down closer to the pelvis, has got the most movement, you know. I think if you're sitting down sort of cross-legged, you can sit forward, you can maybe lean to the side. That's all coming from those bottom 5. And that is why if you're going to get pain in your back, it's more often lower back, because that lumbar section is taking a lot more, is just taking a lot more of the strain day to day. As you're moving through a lot of sort of common daily sort of movement ranges. So again, you know, we've got to think about training the lower back and building up the muscles around those. Just like Haytham was saying earlier on, to take some of the tension through those movements, you know. And of course, posture is a big thing when it comes to your lower back as well. You know, you might be standing in a certain way, your chest might be pushed out. You might even have like sort of like a natural arch in your lower back when you're standing, you know, where your pelvis is very sort of dipped forward at the front.
I think you mentioned before as well, sleeping position.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you can possibly think about it during sleep, because you're asleep. But
exactly.
Your body's stuck in that position for 8 hours. So if you're sleeping with, like, my biggest one, my neck, I get a bad neck sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
I'll fall asleep and then I'll roll over and then I'll be like this.
Yeah.
And that causes me loads of problems when I wake up.
Of course it will. Yeah, because like we're saying, that's however many hours a night sleep that you're getting, which, you know, we should be striving for sort of definitely between 6 and 8.
Minimum, you know, 7 at the minimum.
That's a long time. Yeah, it's a long time to stay in a certain position, especially to say that your body's going to revert to its most comfortable position without you realizing, or as comfortable as it can be in the moment.
I was going to say it's comfortable for about 10 minutes.
It doesn't care about when you wake up and you can't move, like it really doesn't. You know, which is again why it can be important to take a little bit of time to stretch off as you're waking up after 8 hours. Like if you were to sit on an aeroplane, a coach, in the car, on the couch for 8 hours solid, like the first thing you'd be wanting to do would be getting up, stretching your legs off a little bit, moving around. And it's so easy at the minute to just go from that sleeping position that you've been for 8 hours or however many hours it is, pick yourself up. Where do you go? You go to the couch and you adopt another position for however many hours you're there. You know, so again, that's why that movement is so important, because it's like move it or lose it. You know, if you don't use that range, your body's going to forget how to get there and how to do it at the end of the day. But you know, even just from this, we can see how much of that movement is coming from the spine and the back, and why a lot of that impact can have sort of effects that manifest at the lower back. You know, that was probably the thing that I came across most in the gym. You know, my back hurts when I'm doing this. Or just day to day, and it wasn't always as straightforward as, oh well, it's the shape that your back's in. You know, sometimes it can be glute tension, thigh tension. Have you got muscle tension that's pulling the bone where it doesn't need to be? But that's something we can look at as well in a couple of weeks when we do look at that muscular system as well, and just how it links in with the skeleton. Okay, so just to finish the spine up. So we've got below the lumbar spine, and again, like if you've ever heard of like a lumbar puncture, that's where that will be. Obviously, that lumbar spine relieving some of the tension there. Like I say, that's where we're going to get a lot of pain and aches. Coming down from there, we've got the sacrum, which is actually 5 that are fused together. You know, and again, if we can just come back to the that other main diagram, buddy, and see if we can just zoom in just around the pelvis area. We can see that. We can see how you've sort of got the pelvis almost like that butterfly shape, and then there's like a V in the middle. You know, this little inverted triangle, which actually comes down to, like I say, to be the sacrum. Your coccyx is there as well. You know, that's the bottom 4. So the sacrum is the next 5 down from lumbar, and then we've got your coccyx. So the way I remember the main ones, I remember obviously cervical is 7 vertebrae, thoracic is 12, lumbar is spine. I think about meal times. I don't know whether that's just me being food driven, or whether it's like you'd have one at 7 o'clock, typically breakfast at 7, dinner at 12, dinner at 5. No, and that again, that can be an easy way to remember, just working from the top, how many vertebrae are in each sort of section of the spine. You know, but yeah, we can see just from that diagram again at the bottom, as we get right down towards the bottom, they are fused together. They will take a bit more impact, but if you've ever sat down too quick and fallen on your coccyx or your tailbone, you know about it. Like you really do, especially if you've bruised it.
Instant regret every time.
Straight up your back. Yeah, mistakes were made. I regret this choice. Like you will know about it. And again, that's why it is so easy to just shoot all the way up your back. Because it like I say, it's hitting right at the bottom of your spinal column, and just like I say,
sometimes when you land on some, or you bump into something as well. Sometimes when I've done it, I'll get me entire spine will crack all the way up, and all the air will escape, and I'm like, oh no, something. I'm always scared to move straight after that. I'm like, oh no.
You're just waiting for it.
Has something strained, or is there a disc out of place? And I'm like, oh nah. Luckily so far, touch wood, nothing's gone particularly wrong.
Touch wood, mate. Touch wood.
Yeah, that was back. Like if you do any kind of impact sport, or if you fall over, you will find that. There'll be a lot of trapped air in between all the discs in your back.
Yeah, definitely.
If you've ever had any physio, or a chiropractor sessions as well, like as soon as they move you into a position to like release tension, your back will probably just go all the way down.
Even like a foam roller. Like I think the first time I used a foam roller, I'd have been 20, 22, 23. So I'm like, you feel invincible at 22, 23. And it was like, someone had recommended one. I was like, oh, go on then, I'll give it a go. I can use it with my clients or whatever. Mate, honestly, I laid down, put it on my lower back, rolled myself once, and it was like bubble wrap. It was just like pop, right the way up. I was like, oh, okay, then I'll use this a little bit more often. And like I say, that's more more the muscular side of things and that releasing that tension. But of course, we've by now we know just sort of how linked it all is, and of course, sort of the effect that one can have on the other.
Get your back into the right position, won't it? If you
of course,
release all that tension.
Yeah, it can do, you know.
Help your posture as well.
Yeah, just thinking there, buddy, something that I've just thought about to come back to what you mentioned earlier on about the brittle bones and stuff like that. Just before we move on and get these ones named.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'd mentioned as you get older, your bones are getting a little bit more brittle. Astronauts really struggle with bone density because they haven't got that natural resistance. They haven't even got gravity to work against. So astronauts, like in space and on the International Space Station, they've actually got specially designed weight resistance machines that they can still train their muscles and, importantly, their bones. You know, and if you think how much it costs to send something into space, never mind. Like, because obviously you pay per kilogram to send stuff into space because you need the lift on the rocket. So you're literally sending weights up. You're sending just metal up.
Plain
so
weight, dumbbells.
yeah, that tells you how important it is and that it needs to be up there.
Yeah.
You know, that the companies and NASA and stuff will send them up. You know, they struggle a lot with muscle wastage and bone sort of fragility and being brittle and stuff like that. So yeah, if there's any budding astronauts out there, if you're training, you know, you might get your head around the 5G thing and the and all of that, but yeah, that's definitely I found it quite interesting because it wasn't anything I'd ever considered, to be honest. I've always been fascinated with space, and as I moved into looking at the human body and the physical side of things and being that little bit more sort of exercise and fitness conscious, that's something that really stood out to me. Is like, wow, you know.
Well, you don't age at the same rate in space either.
Well, yeah, you know, there's that as well. So, I mean, I don't know actually if there's a limit for how long they can actually send people up for right now before they need to come back to Earth and experience gravity again.
Yeah, probably quite a bit. There probably is, because I imagine if you stayed up there for too long with reduced gravity, your body would just like be critical when you came back.
Yeah, right. Like I say,
it would adapt, right?
Yeah, if it is something that interests you and it is something that you sort of think, oh, I'd never thought about that. If you go on YouTube and look, there's footage of astronauts and their first time back on Earth, and they're trying to walk and stuff like that. You can just see the effect that it's had on their bones and their muscles, just being just without that natural gravity that we take for granted because we deal with it every day, and more often than not, it's a hindrance than a help, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Sometimes it does not help.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. When you drop the toast and it lands butter side down, every single time.
Always going to do that, though.
Isn't it? But I thought that was quite interesting as well.
Yeah.
Looking at it from that side of view. Right. Let's get these labelled up then before we can have a move on and look at some of the just some of our internal organs before we finish up.
There you go. There's some answers.
Okay, so saving Hatham having to annotate again. So what we've got, again, let's see how we got on, because of course some of them we mentioned at the start of the session, some of them we covered in the crossword, and some of them we haven't sort of come across yet. So let's sort of see how we got on. So number one we see is the skull, or the cranium is what we're looking for today. And of course going forward we're going to try and use the proper terms and stuff like that. So we've got the cranium. It was the human skeleton. Now, remember we mentioned earlier on that doesn't include the jaw. The jaw would be its own. It would be its own. It's called the mandible. But again, we don't really need to stress about that too much. Number two, we've got the cervical vertebrae. Again, like I say, that's the top 7 vertebrae of your spinal column that are sort of stacked on top of each other. Yeah. Really, really helpful for sort of pivoting and that movement on the spot. Number 3, we've got the clavicle, or the collarbone. Again, just giving you a little bit of support in the shoulder joint, and giving that shoulder joint a little bit more support, helping with movement in terms of shoulders coming forward, being retract, that sort of thing. And it is quite a small bone, actually, the clavicle, which is again why it is one that's quite sort of susceptible to breaking. especially if you've ever gone over the handlebars on a bike or something like that. You know, that's all it takes. So yeah, number 3 was the clavicle. 4 was the humerus. Remember the funny bone. I find it hard to forget that one because I'm forever braying my elbow off of stuff, and it's just that constant reminder that no, it's not so humorous. Nope. But yeah, big bone in your arm is the humerus. Number 5 is pointing through to sort of the other side of the body, and we can see that's where the shoulder blade or the scapula is. Yeah. So we've got the scapula there again. You know, sort of working to retract and protract your shoulders as well. So that was the scapula. Number 6, we've got the sternum. Yeah, you know, the proper term for the breastplate, sitting front and center, sitting over the heart and those lungs.
Every time you say it,
it was nice and safe.
If you ever watched the wrestling, they always used to do a sternum.
Oh,
it was never real, obviously. Yeah, but it was always like, and right to the sternum.
Yeah, right to the sternum, chair to the sternum. Yeah,
they would aim for that for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah, but, do you know what? I think that's probably why I'm more familiar with the word, to be honest. Now you think about it, old Jim Ross back in the day.
Yeah, Undertaker, man.
Yeah,
Stone Cold.
Yeah, loves a sternum shot.
Alright.
Okay, and then of course, connecting to that sternum is our ribs. You know, number 7. Yeah, we've got our ribs. Just while I'm on with the ribs, it's easy to forget that there's muscles that sits between them, because I think we always really see ribs in the skeleton sort of diagrams and stuff like that. There's muscles that sit in between them that sort of help the rib cage expand as you breathe, and then of course sort of contract again as you breathe out. So if you're getting a little bit of pain, you know, if you've had a fall, or if you've been like even just coughing, sometimes, you know, if you've had a really bad cough, you can actually strain one of those muscles. It's easy to convince yourself you've cracked a rib.
Yeah.
Chances are you've just pulled a muscle that sits in between them that we call an intercostal. Yeah. Again, you know, we'll get to that when we look at the muscular system. But yeah, a little bit of pain in the ribs doesn't necessarily mean you've cracked or broken a rib. Remember that there's muscles that sort of sit between them as well. You know. Yeah. Okay, so that was our ribs. Number 8, we've got our spinal column.
Yeah.
If you wanted to be a little bit more specific, you could say that would be sort of like the lumbar spine. Yeah. And the lumbar section. But for now, you know, the focus is just remembering that that's the spine, the spinal column, and of course the job that does in giving us the support that we need. Okay, so number 9. We've got, now I was just trying to figure out, it took us a second to figure out which way his hands are there. It looks as though his thumbs are out. So number 9, is the bone coming down from the thumb, which, you know, we talked about earlier on, that is the radius rather than the ulna.
I think standing like hands, so palm facing us, I believe.
Yes, that's what it looks like to me. That's what it looks like to me. So thumbs out, number 9 on the outside of the body. Is going to be the radius, and then almost process of elimination depending on the way that you do it. Number 10 on the inside is going to be the ulna. You know, out of the two, the little word goes with the little finger. You know. Yeah. Okay, so looking under how sort of similar the hands and feet are, but they're named differently. So we've got number 11, sort of where your wrists connect into your, or where your hand starts almost. We've got your carpals. Yeah, so little bones that we call carpals, which almost sort of just glide amongst each other and give yourself that a lot of movement that you need in your hand for us to have the dexterity that we have, and especially opposable thumbs and stuff like that, you know, and really using our hands to grip, because that's one thing that we've got that a lot of species don't, you know. Certain animals need to grip things with their mouth, you know. We've got these smaller carpals in our hands that give us just a little bit more dexterity and a little bit more sort of precision with it. And then so we've got carpals which become metacarpals further down the hand, so sort of up to like the knuckles, and again everything up to the fingertips, because the fingertips and the toe tips are our phalanges, whereas up to that point in the hand we've got carpals and metacarpals. So if you've ever had or even heard of anybody having carpal tunnel syndrome,
yeah,
that's what that is, and that is coming from almost like a lot of repetitive strain sort of stuff. It might be someone who's typing a lot, doing the same thing day after day after day with their hands. That is it's carpal tunnel syndrome, because you're getting pain and you're sort of getting an issue with those carpals and those metacarpals. I know it's kind of jumping forward a little bit, but I kind of like to look at the feet while we're on as well. So 17 and 18, we can see that we've got tarsals and metatarsals. So it's the same thing. We've got tarsals and metatarsals, just like we've got carpals and metacarpals in the hand. Now, again, it's a case of remembering what goes where. As growing up as a football fan, and seeing Wayne Rooney miss whatever World Cup it was, I can't think off the top of my head.
I think because he made it in the end, but
he went in the end,
2 or 3 games.
And he wasn't fit. Yeah, and that was like literally. I remember he was almost sort of.
Was it 2010? I can't remember.
Do you know, it might have been 2010 actually. But he literally in sort of like the regular season broke a metatarsal in his foot. And that was it. This tiny little bone that he broke, and it was almost like hopes of the nation dashed overnight, wasn't it? It was like, right,
2006, yeah.
Was it 06? Was it? Yeah. Wow. But again, that is how I remember it. Another way you could remember it would be the only difference between carpal and tarsals, of course, really is the is one's the C and or the second part of the word begins with C and a T. So tarsals, I remember just toes. Yeah. Tarsals are your toes at the end of the day. Carpals, I remember from carpal tunnel syndrome. If you can remember one of those, you can use process of elimination to remember them both. You don't even necessarily have to remember them both. Of course, extra bonus if you can. Okay, so where were we? So we were after metacarpal, so we are down to the femur, number 13. Again, the biggest bone, or the singular bone in the body.
Yeah.
And again, it's a big, solid, dense bone. It's a hard one to break. I've heard horror stories about femurs being broken.
Skateboarders and skiers and stuff, I think.
Yeah. It takes some doing.
High impact
to break your femur over those lower two, sort of, like I say, more fragile bones in the lower leg.
You've got 2 big muscles sort of protecting it as well.
But you do, yeah. You've got your quadriceps and you've got your hamstrings, which are both in themselves groups of muscles, which is muscles upon muscles, So you've got a lot more sort of protection there. Yeah, definitely, rather than down where you might only have your calf muscle, notoriously difficult to gain mass, specifically on purpose. It is a lot easier to break those. And again, little things like what Haytham mentioned earlier on about sitting with your feet in a certain position, you compromise your ankle. You've compromised those 2 bones as well in the bottom, so those are going to be more likely to sort of get damaged. Again, which is why thinking about posture is so important. Okay, femur done. Number 14 is the kneecap. We sort of looked at it a little bit earlier on, and that is that's the patella. Protecting the joint as it opens up, and giving that joint a little bit more, like I say, support and protection. Not necessarily helping with the movement, because even if the kneecap wasn't there, your knee would still move the same way it does pretty much, but it would expose a lot of sort of internal stuff that doesn't want exposing. So that is what the kneecap does. It sits on the top and sort of protects that.
Yeah. Number 5. Out of position, which is lush.
It can, yeah. Same again, sporting injuries, you'll see displaced kneecap that needs popping back into place or whatever. Not pleasant. No. It wouldn't be. I wouldn't be my first choice of something to have to click back into place, but it would be my last. It definitely wouldn't be my last one neither. Okay, so then coming down again to those 2 in the lower leg, and we've got our tibia at the front, which is the bigger one, and we're much more likely to hit it on something with it being your shin, or the corner finder, as I do like to call it sometimes. That's your tibia, and then we've got your fibula at the back, and we can see it's a little bit of a smaller bone, and just sort of hides, almost tucked away at the back, and that is your that is your fibula, 17 and 18, we've been over tarsals and metatarsals in your feet, and again the very tips of your toes, like your fingers, is your phalanges. And then 19, coming back up the body a little bit, we've got the pelvis. Yeah. You know, and again we can see how the sort of spine slots sort of into the pelvis, or sort of becomes the pelvis at the bottom in those fused vertebrae as well, which give you a lot more support. If you think that, of course, it's almost sort of locking your pelvis into place, isn't it? It's not giving it a chance to move very much. If those 5 vertebrae, or those bottom 9 vertebrae that are all fused together, did float around as much as some of the other vertebrae, your pelvis wouldn't have as much stability as it did. You know,
you'd be a bit, you'd be like a jelly person.
Well, you would, you know, because we get a lot of movement from the ball and socket joint in our hips. We don't need our pelvis to move around as much as our vertebrae does. We need that to stabilize what's going on at these joints above and below. So yeah, we kind of need those to be fused. So yeah, that hopefully just gives you a little bit more of an idea over what like I say, what certain bones look like. And it might give you a bit of an idea how to sort of visualize your own skeleton and your own sort of internal goings on, or just over the course of the next week, you know, while you're thinking about this sort of stuff a little bit more. And sort of engaging with your own sort of physical self a little bit. You know, because it's easy to look at the diagrams and go, okay, cool, without really sort of projecting that onto ourselves and thinking about how it applies to ourselves day to day. So yeah, definitely. Again, you know, let me know how you got on. If there's anything that you found really sort of tough, you might be thinking to yourself already, oh, there's words. This one in particular, I'm never going to remember. Give me a shout. We'll find a way to drive it home and help that stick with you. We really will. It can be done. Yep. For now, just to finish us up, I just want to spend 5 minutes or so looking at our organs. Yeah. Again, we'll get a chance to talk about some of them a little bit more as we are looking at the muscular system and that side of things a little bit more. But again, you know, I think our organs and stuff, it's really easy to sort of have words that we're familiar with, that we've heard about, that might even be in our vocabulary, but we don't really understand what they are, what they do, where they are, how we damage them, how we can help them repair if they are damaged, you know, all of that sort of thing. And again, you know, I think because we always see it on diagrams, it's easy to look and say, oh, okay, that's what a pair of lungs looks like. Mine must look like as well. Without considering the fact that you might be smoking 20 a day for 20 years. Your lungs won't look like that necessarily. Do you know what I mean? Like,
or
that
if you've got a respiratory problem,
exactly.
Asthma, you've had, I don't know what's the one where you've been breathing in asbestos, that can be real bad.
Definitely. But again, you know, knowledge is power. Definitely. So when it comes to this sort of stuff, for sure. So like I say, if there's any that you aren't familiar with at all, I mean, even there might be one or two on that diagram in itself that you think to yourself, oh, I'm not really sure about that.
I think you've always got the big hitters like your heart, lungs, liver,
that's it,
intestine, large intestine.
Intestine, even.
Everyone know what the appendix is, but not really know what it does, probably.
Yeah. The appendix is a strange one because to my understanding, we're pretty much at a point on an evolutionary level where we kind of don't need it anymore. I think it was mainly to do with a certain diet that we used to have as humans and eating certain stuff and probably
breaking down leaves, I believe,
like leaves and grass and that a lot more. Which of course isn't as prevalent in our diet anymore. Now, of course, they're in no rush to open you up and take it out.
No.
What it'll be is just a case of if you're getting pain, and it will always be on that right-hand side as well. If you're getting pain there, it's important to go and get that checked out and just make sure that there's not anything that's gonna, because an appendix could burst as well, you know, which can be fatal. You know, there's no two ways about it. That could be fatal if sort of left untreated. And again, you know, if you are familiar with the word appendix, but you don't know where it is, you start getting the pain in your right-hand side, you think, oh, it might just be my liver or my kidneys or something, you know. I'll drink more water. And the pain doesn't go away, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, you know. If you don't associate that area and that pain with appendix pain, how do you know to go and sort of bring it to somebody's attention as urgently as you might need to, you know? So, that's that's kind of where we're at with the appendix. There's sort of arguments either way whether we're going to evolve to not have one, you know. But of course, time will tell, and that'll be well beyond our lifetimes anyway, mate. I don't think we need to worry about that.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's inside at the minute. I might be missing loads of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. So we're actually, like I say, we've got a week next week where we're looking at the heart in its sort of in a little bit more detail. So I won't spend too much time on that today.
There's the one that's not on there, which is it would be up here. It would be towards this area. However, there's been a bit of a cut off with this one. I think this person suffered from some kind of guillotine-related accident.
yeah, they're having some kind of problem. Yeah, not much brain power.
Not much function happening from this particular area, but there would be one particularly important organ.
Yeah.
To keep it all working and ticking over.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Sending obviously signals around the body, telling them what it needs to do, even subconsciously, because all of these,
which is nice, you don't have to think about it.
Yeah,
you don't have to think about like digesting your food and like breathing and that.
That's it. So much that just didn't get done.
I'll just do it tomorrow. I'll digest that later. I'll do it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'll get around to that.
Just leave it there, man. It'll be fine. Just leave it in there.
Yeah, I'll do. So yeah, it is nice to know that these obviously do their own thing by themselves, but it's interesting as well, important to remember that requires calories. You know, that burns calories, and of course the more help you can give these organs in terms of sort of water and decent food and protein and stuff like that, the better condition they're going to be in as well. And of course there are some organs that we're going to get onto that you can damage more through sort of lifestyle choices. You know, sort of like of course, like your liver and stuff like that. You know, if you somebody who's got a diet that's got like a lot of alcohol in, stuff like that, of course, even something like really, really fatty diets can affect your liver, your kidneys, stuff like that as well, because obviously fat just sort of clogs up.
Yeah, I only recently found out you can be overhydrated. That can wreak havoc with your kidneys if you drink too much water.
If you're drinking too much water, probably like especially if you drink it too much too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like you might drink the right amount of water, but you drink it in like a 2-hour period for a full day, and that makes your kidneys work so hard you can actually put too much strain on them.
Yeah.
Same with your bladder as well. You can give yourself a bladder infection.
Yeah.
And all sorts.
Yeah, definitely.
It basically gets full and the bacteria sits in it instead of it being put out. And because obviously you'll not be going to the toilet, you'll be holding it in a little bit more.
Yeah,
it tends to be the theory because you're going that often because you put like 4 liters of water into your body in an hour. And you can get like UTIs and all sorts of
important to build it up and do it gradual. And I think a bit like exercise. Yeah, it's good for you. If you need a certain amount for the week, you don't have it all in like one day or like
caffeine
2 days.
As well. I think it's quite bad for that as well, isn't it?
Yeah, coffee.
Like if you can probably get away with 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day, but maybe not back to back on the morning.
Not just like sitting and like chaining them. Yeah,
pouring coffee down your neck.
Yeah,
maybe have a coffee and then like leave it a few hours, have some water in between, and then another coffee.
Yeah, that's my plan actually, buddy. I'm on the middle step. I'm on the middle step with my water.
Because it doesn't.
Like you say.
With that, I was reading the other day as well, and I can back this up with an article with some research in it. If anyone's interested, let me know. Nobody will be because it's really boring. But you can actually hydrate yourself with caffeinated beverages as long as you don't go over a certain amount per hour. So having a cup of coffee won't necessarily dehydrate you if you only drink that coffee. If you have 2 or 3 back to back, you're going to hit a threshold of caffeine. That's then making it into a diuretic. Obviously, it depends on you as well and your metabolism. So if you've got quite a fast metabolism, even 1 cup of coffee can start to dehydrate you because your body will just be metabolizing it so quick that you're losing more fluid than you've gained.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to note that. Like, I think some people go cold turkey as well, and it's like that's probably not good for you as well.
No, definitely not. It's the same as anything. Small sort of manageable steps in whatever direction you're going.
If you've been having 3 a day and you go to none, your body's going to be like, well, hang on a minute, where's all that where's all that caffeine that I was using? Where is it?
I can't do it myself anymore.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
Wean yourself off of it. For goodness sake.
But it is. It's a big sort of it's a big sort of like I say sort of evidence and sort of lends a lot to you are what you eat. You know, at the end of the day, your body is literally replacing its own cells with whatever you're putting in. And if the quality of that food isn't great, how can the quality of the cells that your body's regenerating be great as well? You know, which is why, again, you know, we think about the function of some of these organs, maybe even just some of them, but we don't think about maybe how our lifestyle might affect them. You know, I say, we've said stuff like the liver. You know, obviously the first thing I think of is alcohol and the effect that can have. Like you say, kidneys when it comes to hydration, dehydrated, overhydrated. Like I say, there's a lot of stuff that we can get. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. You know, at the end of the day, you know, I know you mentioned the brain. It's pretty much the main organ telling the other organs what to do. Potentially with the exception of the heart, that's got its own sort of heartbeat and will beat involuntarily, but that's something we can talk about next week as well. Everything else, your brain needs to send signals to subconsciously for them to do whatever they need to do. Your lungs, of course, is probably one that you've come across before. It's easy to forget or not realize how elastic they are actually, and of course how much they can expand as you breathe and when they do contract.
They're 2 big bags, really, aren't they?
Pretty much, yeah. They're just two big airbags. If you were to take a fully grown or like an adult male's lungs and dissect them and spread them as far as they will go, it would cover the same sort of area as like a full tennis court.
Yeah,
full professional tennis court, which is a lot when you think it's in 2 little fists worth of muscle there, sort of sitting in your chest. It's amazing, you know. Like I say, lungs is probably one that you've come across before. Stomach will be obviously in its digesting your food and stuff like that. What I think what a lot of us don't know is actually your stomach acid. If you were to remove your stomach acid and put it on your hand, it'd go straight through. No bother. Like it's like that scene in Alien, isn't it? It's like Alien,
definitely Alien worthy. Just melt through the ship.
Yeah, I think I remember reading somewhere actually that part of the inspiration for that came from that idea.
Right. So if, like, say for example, and it's a horrible thing to think, but if somehow something punctured your stomach, would that give you loads of problems internally then? Because the acid would be leaking out. Or are we not sure?
Yeah. do you know what? I mean, without ever coming across it firsthand, it would make sense to say yes. I think I have heard actually of someone having like leaky stomach. I've certainly heard of leaky gut.
Yeah.
Like a leaky gut, where obviously that's to do with your bacteria and stuff like that a little bit more, as opposed to the acid.
Gastrointestinal fistula.
Okay.
It seems like it's a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you obviously get acid reflux, but that's not quite as severe as it like just.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I mean, it just shows you how sort of strong the lining of your stomach is. You know, to be able to obviously just digest your food and about your business you go. As opposed to if like you say, God forbid, it does get on the outside, or you have got like a leaky stomach wall or something like that.
Peritonitis. I think I've heard of that on some medical shows. That must be what it is. It must be like if you've got a punctured stomach.
Yeah.
It just sort of like leaks out.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to cause problems, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, definitely.
No thanks.
No. Okay, so then we've got the spleen, which is actually part of your immune system. And it's again production and recycling of blood cells. You know, so if you wanted to know what a spleen does other than rupture, because that's all you ever seem to hear, isn't it? Yeah. Ruptured spleen. So
always like a car accident into a ruptured spleen is like the standard. Like if you watch Casualty, that's what will happen. They'll have had a car crash and they'll have a ruptured spleen.
Ruptured spleen. Yeah. Kidneys is a funny one because although we've got two, you can survive with one. And something that fascinated me when Mel told us, because she I think she'd spoken to a learner before who'd had a problem with one of his kidneys, so he'd had a transplant.
Yeah.
Now, what they told him was they hadn't taken the faulty one out; they'd just put the new one in. So he's got 3 kidneys, in the hope that maybe the other one might sort
back
of
online and
kick in again. Yeah.
Super kidneys.
Yeah, like I don't know where you go from there. I don't know
whether
to,
like drink all the coffee you wanted and all the alcohol you wanted. I think you'd be able to do whatever you like.
Yeah, because I don't think you can really offer it back. No. Do you know what I mean? It's like cheese for lending. Is this like?
You could probably, to be fair, you could probably become a donor.
But yeah, you probably could.
I assume, but I think it must be very rare that someone's kidney one day turns back on.
Yeah.
Comes back.
Yeah. It's not unheard of, but they say that it's worth leaving in.
I wonder,
rather than taking it out. I
wonder, and I think I said this last time, it's in case your body rejects the new one. Because I know when you have an organ transplant, like your body, it's hardwired to not accept a foreign like tissue.
Yeah.
So as soon as it detects it, without it being tricked into it with loads of like pills and stuff, and like hormones and that, it would reject it, which would mean it would give you like an immune response and you get really ill. I think loads of people do after transplants. I think if you have like a lung transplant or like, where they use like someone else's liver to like I think it causes all sorts of immune problems.
Yeah.
Because they have to suppress your immune system. Because your body won't accept the foreign tissue, and it really knacks you up for quite. I think it's for life in some cases. I think if you get like a different lung, I think you just have to take the tablets forever to make sure your body doesn't reject it.
Just ever reject it, and you just got to live with that compromised immune system.
I don't know if that's changed. Obviously, medicine changes quite often and quite rapidly.
It does,
but the last time I looked into it, when we were learning about it, it was like, you might be on these pills forever.
Oh, okay. That's.
I mean, you're alive, so it's obviously. Thing, but,
definitely.
It's not. Whenever I think of like organ transplants, I think that the thinking is, oh well, I'm sorted now, but it's not really like you've been given a second chance, but it's not fixed really.
It's not fixed, and you chances are, it's not always the person's fault.
No, like.
But you've got to look after it. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
You've got to look after it. Otherwise, there's every chance that new brand spanking heart that you've got might end up in the same position as the as the first one.
Of course. They won't give you one without you proving that you're going to work on lifestyle stuff as well.
Yeah, definitely.
For example, if it's things like a liver or a heart, whoever makes the decisions, I don't know who it is, but they'll make sure you've put a reasonable lifestyle change in. Yeah. Otherwise, they're not going to waste the vital. It's not even the money; it's the organ itself, and it's like so like scarce to get them.
It's priceless to somebody else that might make them lifestyle changes and get another 20, 30, 40 years out of it.
Having said that, I know now you don't have to. It's the opposite way, isn't it? In terms of being an organ donor, you're assumed an organ donor.
Yeah, you have to opt out now.
You opt out. Yeah. Which is good. I think that's a good thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Giving you the option to opt out as well is obviously right.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Because you might want to opt out on spiritual religious beliefs, religious grounds, or you might just not agree with it, and that's fine. That's your prerogative. But for me personally, I think it's a shame to let viable organs go to waste if someone could live off the back of it. If I'm already dead.
That was always my thought.
I'm not using this. Like I'm done. I'm kind of done with all of that.
Yeah, I've been registered for a while now.
I was going to, and when I looked into it, they were like, "You already are."
Cool. But yeah, that's each person's own individual decision to make.
Yeah. So yeah, if you don't want your organs harvested after you die, they're not coming for them before you die. Just to clarify, nobody is coming for your organs.
Yeah.
But if you don't want them, I'd do some research and find out how to opt out. But if you do want to donate them, you're already opted in. So
excellent.
I kind of want to be one of those bodies that they do they like coat them in that weird sort of waxy stuff.
Oh yeah.
Put them in a museum. I always think that would be kind of cool.
We're gonna. Mate, the thing is, you know full well you'd end up in the office.
Ah, true.
Don't you? You'd end up embalmed in the office.
Yeah, but they take all the skin off them, and they study them, don't they? So like it's like used as a medical thing. It's not like a weird fetish or anything. It's they take all and they show how like the muscle system works.
Yeah.
In a body, and like they put them in certain poses to say when that muscle's contracted, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. I always thought that was kind of cool.
I'll just pick you up and take you to work with me.
Yeah, just like in the back
that'll make it easy.
Don't mind him, he's all right.
Yeah. This is just me mannequin. Yeah.
Just skinless mannequin with the eyeballs still in. Don't you worry about that. I'm a medical professional. I'm not, just FYI, just in case anyone misinterprets.
Yeah. Disclaimer.
I am not a medical professional.
Okay, I think the only one of them that I haven't covered really is pancreas. And just for doing the full whack while we're on, the pancreas releases digestive enzymes and different hormones and chemicals in your bloodstream. Yeah, that's all you really need to know about your pancreas. And if you know that about the pancreas, you know more than most people do about the pancreas.
Yeah.
And that'll about do us for the for the body organ side of things, definitely.
And
so
there's a slide on there about.
We've got a slide just to finish us up, and again, this is just a helpful tool for you to use when you are coming back, if you're coming back to sort of review anything. Like I say again, give me a shout for that one-to-one Zoom call if you need to, and we can run over the sort of stuff in person or as close to in person as we can get. But an email will do, or you can just come back and, like I say, watch the video again.
So I'm just going to show the guys what the front cover of the book that they're doing.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
The workbook is How the Body Works. The link is in the description. If you have any trouble downloading it for whatever reason, give Rob a shout and he can just email you the actual workbook.
Exactly, buddy.
It's
exactly.
a PDF. You can click to fill it in as well. So in terms of drawing on it, there's some matchup stuff here. So if we want to do that I've got Adobe Reader. There'll be a highlighter tool here. I can hopefully just draw a line. That's not the right way to do it. Like, that's not the right answer. So let's get the right answer. So where have we got? Where am I at? The cranium and ribs protect the brain and vital organs in the chest. So that will be protection. So you just draw a line between the right answers and make sure you hit save on that. If you cannot view it for whatever reason in Adobe Reader, you can, in your file explorer, so when it's open here, if you right click and you open it with let's try Microsoft Edge, that'll open the PDF quite well. I would never use Microsoft Edge apart from for this very reason. But again, if you scroll down, you should be able to have this draw tool here, in which you can just draw a line between the two, and then you've got your save buttons over on the right hand side. If you're having any trouble with that, give me a shout, and I'm sure Rob will pass it on, and I'll be able to get in touch and say, look, click here, here, and here. And you should be all right. So that is completing pages 2 and 3 of that workbook, which I've just closed very stupidly. A second, I'll reopen it. So pages 2 and 3.
So you can always come back to the last slide of the session if you need to check what sort of workbook stuff you need to be doing that week.
This week pages 2 and 3 are just the matchup exercises. So
it's
drawing the lines between what's what, basically. Very simple. Obviously, put your name in the workbook. They don't need to send you it yet, do they? Because we're not.
No. What we'll do, unless there's anything that you're really not sure of, and again, it's probably easier to just ask rather than sending the booklet backwards and forwards. But hold on to the booklet till it's done. And then if you want to send it then you can. If you want to hold on to them all till the end of the course and blast them all over in one go, that's entirely up to you. Whichever way you want to do it. But you can always come back to the last slide of the PowerPoint and just say, right, what is it that I need to be doing this week, before that next session. So pages 2 and 3 this week of the How the Body Works workbook. Just in time for us coming back round to jump in on next week's session. So next week we'll be back, same day, same time, 10 till 12, and we're going to be looking at how the heart works, the role it plays in obviously health and fitness, exercise, and how it keeps us going, and of course why it's important to look after it. So that's to all look forward to next week. Like I say, if there's anything about today's that hasn't sort of maybe stuck as much as you'd like, by all means, give me a shout. And,
don't forget, there is the survey and the workout video. So the workout video is going in the description now, and it's all about stretching.
Yes, yeah.
The old bones and getting in the right position.
Well, with this being week one of our course, I'm aware that obviously anybody at home that's hopefully everybody gonna give some of these workouts a try and just try and be that little bit more active and get that exercise in, because of course I always make sure there's alternative exercises in case you're finding some quite tough. But for some people, like this could very easily be the first stepping into exercise and fitness. So I've wanted a nice easy one to sort of set you up for going forward. Not something that's going to absolutely wreck you and you're cursing me for the next week and you get the next week and you don't want to do next week, just nice and easy baby steps. We'll ease it back in. And I like I say, I know we'd mentioned it at the start of the session, but like Hatham just said, if you can just take 30 seconds to fill the survey, and it's a massive help to us. And then like Hatham says, it's right next to the workout video anyway. So
I've pasted them both in the chat anyway, so they're in the chat and the description. You cannot miss them.
Brilliant work, nice one. Right, guys, that'll about do us for this week. Then we can probably wrap that there. Again, if you feel like you want to book in that one-to-one stuff or that a little bit of one-to-one time, by all means get in touch. And I know we've sort of mentioned throughout the morning that my email's there for you to just sort of drop me an email and give me a shout if there's anything that you're not too sure about. Other than that, I hope you're all looking forward to sort of getting started and digging in. There's a lot of interesting stuff to go over in the next 11 weeks, and I'm excited myself to be digging into it. So thank you for tuning in, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the first session. I hope you enjoyed the workout. Let me know how you get on with that. I'm always keen for a little bit of feedback on the on the fitness videos and stuff like that. And other than that, like I say, we'll be back same time next week, same day, 10 till 12, and we'll just be looking at the next topic, which is going to be the heart, just in case you did want to do a little bit of reading in advance as well, but by all means, just focus on the skeleton stuff for this week, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it next week.
Cool. Thanks very much.
Excellent work. Well, thank you, and thank you, Hatham, for your help.
No bother. I'll see you guys next. Well, Daniel will be with you next week. I'll be back the week after.
No worries.
See you guys.
All right, guys, take it easy. Have a good week.
And we're clear.